Hey guys, Clover here. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a peek of this area that I'm in right now. I'm not really sure what the Wi-Fi is going to be like because there's not a Wi-Fi down here. But this is my the pool and spot. Oh, it's raining a little bit, so I can't go out in the rain. But what's going on, Penny Pincher? But this is kind of like this nice little balcony, or I don't know if balcony is the right term, but it's like this kind of new open area. So this area is protected. There's they're still like working on stuff here. Like these are going to be opened up pretty soon, but I'm liking this spot. I mean, this is the largest park in Saigon, so it's a nice little view of the area here. Just kind of looking out. So you guys can see a little bit. It's a nice little spot, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a spot or a little bit of a tour, kind of where I'm at. I don't have Wi-Fi, so I'm gonna basically have to kind of go off of some of the stuff I've got stored in cache. But today was my biggest earnings day in the smart contract game, so this is day 8. I want to show you guys a little bit of my progress with these contracts. So most of the dividend earnings that I've got is from Craig Grant Now, or CG Now. I had a huge day, and I was kind of anticipating this 0.7183. I kind of mentioned that in my last stream. So that was pretty much where most of my earnings came from. And I want to kind of show that a little bit to you guys. So the contract dropped down a little bit. You can see the contract was as high as like 180 or thereabouts, kind of in that area, and then has dropped quite a bit, but that has turned into some pretty substantial dividend earnings. So 0.7183 on the dividend earnings. PoW's coming back a little bit, so it was down at like 61 or so ETH in the contract, and now I think you're starting to see some people get back in. So 24 bucks there. And the proof of week hands made about 50 bucks in there. So I'm still holding, a large portion of my dividends. But these have become now kind of like my big 3. So I did like a video, I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, where I was talking about basically my big 3 in the smart contract space, and one of those was the POCG, which has pretty much like it's really fallen off. Like the contract has just kind of evaporated, and you're seeing it really just kind of drop and drop and drop. And I'm anticipating that trend's going to continue. So you can see the proof of Craig Grant now in the 20th position, less than 15 ETH in there. The daily active users are dropping, and so I think that is going to be something that we're going to continue to see. So that was a good switch for me, and I think that there's going to be opportunities like this for the rest of the month. There's there's going to be some contracts in the smart space that are going to have some potential to provide some pretty substantial earnings if you get in kind of early enough. Like that's kind of a big thing if you're really looking for a lot of the big gains. Some of them, like I got into proof of week hands late, or I guess late in the sense that it's like I wasn't really in, like a month ago or so. But the earnings have been, fairly, consistent. I mean, I've been making, I'll show that to you guys here, like almost like 0.1 ETH a day. So like you can see right here, my proof of week hands, 0.1, 0.8, 0.6, 0.6, 0.11, 0.6. So it's been fairly consistent. Like I've been getting a little bit of some consistent earnings there, whereas like the other ones have really kind of been all over the place. Like PoWH was giving me like 0.1, then dropped quite a bit. It's not paying out as much now as the volumes and the contracts have gone away. But the biggest, one of the biggest earnings that I was having was this proof of Craig Grant that was coming up, but you saw that it really kind of dipped for a little while, and then pretty much everyone kind of exited the contract, and so that was like a big thing where like, it was time to get out of that contract. I'm FOMOing a little bit on the proof of Trevon James. I mean, it's still holding pretty high, and the balance is going up, which I've been kind of surprised by. Like you can see, like this was as high as like 280 or so. There was like, you know, now it's 266 in the contract. It's still doing pretty well, and I guess one of the things I didn't realize was I was wrong on the percentages and whatnot. Like I thought it was 7%, but that's actually like I guess the referral bonus, because basically it's like it's a 20%, and then like you're getting a third of that, or like 35%, which is roughly about 7% in terms of like a referral bonus. And so I was thinking that was actually the percentage that was like the 7% in, 7% out. That's not the case. And from what I understand, it's like 20% in, 25% out, I believe. So it's similar in terms of like having a large holding amount that is going to be a little bit of a deterrent for people to get out. I think one of the things you might see though is like, and kind of what I'm anticipating with CG now is I think that these dividend earnings I think are going to be pretty high. Like I think I'm going to be getting some pretty good dividend earnings here for the next week or so as this contract comes up, you know, and people are kind of more aware of it. The 25%, kind of 25% in, 25% out, may deter like volume. Like you may not, you know, you may see kind of like an initial adoption where people are getting in, and then people maybe getting out of the contract, or maybe not getting out of the contract, but just kind of holding where they're at. So I'm planning on holding those 4,000 tokens and just kind of seeing where this goes for the month. Like now that I trust what's behind that platform much more so than POCG, I think that this is a good one to kind of to bring into the mix. And I think what I'd like to do is I'm still kind of looking at maybe a few other contracts. Like one of the ones, like I was considering getting out of locked in, just because like there really hasn't been like really anything going on with locked in. It's you know, it's been pretty much like I haven't seen a whole lot going on here with locked in. However, like when I got into the Discord, and there's some interesting developments. So like they're partnering with like a lottery company in Australia. So this is like the Lottery West, and so they're going to incorporate this into the contract. And I think this is kind of like, I'm not really sure how that's going to work, but there was some discussions about that in Discord. I want to get a little bit more active and involved with Discord and some of these different projects. Like I just got into Discord yesterday, just opened up an account, and now I've got some people that are messaging me, and so like I'm gonna I could see how I could really get involved with that, where it could take a lot of time. So I have to be a little conscious of my time, like when I'm getting in there. But I think it's a great way to kind of share information. Like for the locked in projects, I was considering getting out of locked in and perhaps taking like that, you know, 0.5 ETH or something and going into POTJ. I think I'm gonna kind of wait for POTJ. I'm thinking that POTJ might come down a little bit, and then that might be a good time to get in. What I'd like to see is like if it's coming down a little bit, and I think if it comes down enough and you start to see like a little bit of a bounce where maybe you're seeing people are kind of getting back in. That's kind of what we're seeing with POW right now, because POW, like it seemed like everybody got out of POW when that you know, kind of the fart hack and some of that stuff was going on. I think a lot of people got a little skittish from that and got out, but I think you're seeing people starting to FOMO back in. But as far as like what we've seen like on DApp Radar, you know, like proof of week hands has been pretty consistent in the number 3 spot. It's been holding pretty heavy. Like the daily active users are pretty good, but right now, like this proof of Trevon James has been holding the number 2 spot pretty consistently. So it used to be proof of only hodling, and like you saw a few of these other ones, like proof of Craig Grant at one point was number 2, and so it seems like the number 2 position is switching quite a bit. And if you go back in the history of some of these other contracts, like the other two that I'm in, like ETH Phoenix. ETH Phoenix, I was looking at some of the charts of that, had a huge meteoric rise like a month ago. Same thing with like Locked In. But you can see like Locked In has kind of dropped quite a bit. But like I think there's some different things in the works to try to develop those platforms, and so I'm gonna ride it out with my 0.5 ETH that I've gotten both of those, and you know, hope that by the end of the month it ends up being a good one to kind of add to the portfolio. But as far as like, I mean, the earnings that I've received, I mean, this is pretty good. Like, you know, like $550, you know, and I haven't refreshed this. Like, I don't have Wi-Fi. You can see, like, I mean, I haven't refreshed this in like an hour, and so if more people are kind of getting in, like that's a good one. But I think that it's not even on DApp radar yet, like the CG now. So I'm sure that that's going to be one that may trend where we may see it, you know, come up quite a bit. It still doesn't have the balance of PoTJ. I mean, it's basically about half of the balance here. And I don't know what the active users are going to be, but like I think that there is there's some potential behind that one. Let me check in for the chat a little bit. CG said he wasn't going to add it. Yeah, so PoTJ has an advanced site with some different statistics and some like analytics, which I think are great. Like, I think the more information you can provide, like that's one of the great things about this PoWH3D.eu. There's a lot of analytics on here. So I know I moved up, like I'm now in 38th position. But the list, the proof of weak hands list, at least like for the top 50 positions, have been kind of holding pretty steady, and which is good. Like I think the people that are heavily invested in that platform aren't going anywhere. And so like I'm seeing that most of the people are kind of, you know, where they're at. And so I think that's good to add some stability. Like I think that if you have enough token holders that are holding steady, especially through kind of like this downtrend, because like the ETH in the contract just dropped below 6,000. And there had been like a few different times where like the volume kind of dipped, or like the balance had kind of dipped and come back up, and there was kind of like a little bit of that. I think, you know, at some point we might see a little bit of another ramp up as we get like kind of another wave of adoption. And I'm anticipating that wave of adoption isn't necessarily going to be in the American markets. I think it's going to be in the foreign markets. Like one of the things I've noticed is I've got a bunch of Vietnamese friends, and they tend to want to use Facebook quite a bit. And there's a Facebook group on there, and I've noticed that a lot of my Vietnamese friends that I haven't even like touched base with or whatnot, like all of them are getting interested in this project. So I think that proof of weak hands is going to continue to be king for right now. And I think that there's some of these other contracts that may flip-flop, like the number 2, the number 3rd position. And like the ETH and the contract balance, I think what you're seeing is like it's fluctuating, you know, below 100, you know, the hundreds, maybe 200s. And we may see like, you know, we may see one of those contracts explode where you see like, you know, get up to like 1,000 ETH in the contract. Right now, the only one that's really, that's proven that it's going to hold over 1,000 ETH in the contract has been proof of weak hands. So, but I like where this is going. Like, you know, I mean, for today, you know, I mean, I've got 627 in terms of dividend earnings today, 0.81 ETH. Like I'm getting closer. Like I haven't broken an ETH in dividend earnings yet, but I think, you know, I think as you kind of get diversified in these contracts, like if I had an ETH in proof of Trevon James a little bit earlier, I think that would have been one that would have paid out pretty well, because I didn't realize it was like 25%. take them CG now divvies and put them where they are guaranteed to grow. Right now, like I kind of mentioned this on my stream for those of you guys, like I'm taking my dividend earnings and I'm dividing it into a third. So I'm putting a third and I'm reinvesting into other projects. I'm taking a third and I'm putting them into altcoins. And I'm taking a third and I'm living on those dividends. Why don't focus? Why don't you focus? There we go. So like for instance today, like a third of my dividend earnings is 209. So I've got 209 to invest in, to reinvest in other projects. I've got 209 to put into like some of the other altcoins. Like I need to update this a little bit, but I put 0.15 in hot, and I've also got some in the Bancor network, and I want to get some VeChain, so I'll probably do that here once I get off the stream. And I want to update like my altcoin portfolio, because right now, like I have the way that I'm kind of doing this is like I have a third of my ETH earnings right here. If I highlight all of these today, is 0.94 ETH. So I've got 0.94 ETH to kind of put into an altcoin portfolio, 0.94 ETH to live on, and 0.94 ETH to reinvest into other projects. Now I put in 1.44 ETH into CG now, and so that was a little bit over what I had to spend if I'm trying to kind of stay in this like budget that I'm kind of creating. But I think this is going to work for me. So I want to do this for the rest of the month. It's basically, I think this is going to keep me kind of grounded. And I'm kind of waiting, kind of collecting those dividends, getting to a certain point, and then look to get into another project. If POTJ drops, then I think that's going to be a time when I want to get back in, or not get back in, but to get into it. What's going on, Trey? Will Poo recover? You know, Poo is, it kind of had a niche for a little while. Like it was a pretty strong number 2, like a week ago, and the contract balance is evaporated, but it's coming back a little bit. So like, I mean, I'm you know, again, like I'm holding. I'm anticipating that it's going to come up a little bit. Like I was watching the Crypts video on the fart hack and the like the exploit, the way that you're able to get into the contract and drain the contract. I thought that was really interesting. So I'm going to be, for those of you guys that haven't been on some of my other streams, I'm taking Ivan on Tech's programming course starting in June, and so I want to get into learning a little bit more about how to write these contracts. And you know, I've got a little bit of a background in C++ and Java. HTML is pretty straightforward, but the contract space is a little bit different, and so I want to learn about how to code and program some of these, because it might be something I want to kind of get into. Like I know that some of the developers that I've talked with here, they've got enough of a background, like they can write it for me, but I want to understand like what it is they're writing, or you know, how this is going to work, and like possible exploits, because like that exploit that was in the fart contract is kind of a good lesson, kind of a good history lesson, because that could happen again very easily in some of these contracts if you can find a little exploit. Like Pooh had the right intention. Like the whole reason, if you guys don't know, like the whole reason they got hacked was because they put in like a charity function into the code, which took a certain amount that was basically taking that and was going to allocate it towards a particular charity. But what like a hacker was able to do was to get in there and basically sell and kind of drain the contracts. It's hard for me to kind of explain. It was like, it's kind of technical, but they were able to, they had something where they were able to run like a particular line of code that was only like 15 or 20 lines long, added to the contract, and they were able to basically run that like 100 times and drain the contract. So, you know, if you're gonna be adding like lines of code to some of these contracts and everything, that's like you have to have enough know-how to keep it secure. And so, but yeah, I want to see if I can get, like, there's a couple of Wi-Fi signals around here. It seems like the internet's doing pretty good here on just like my cell phone signal. But I'll show you guys a little bit of this park. Like, I love this park. Biggest park in the city, and it's like, it's all like maintained and nice. So it's hard to see because you got so many trees in the way. But this is a pretty busy road that's over here. Off in the distance, you can see like that's going to be the tallest building in Vietnam that they're building right now. But this park is great, and this pool is like a, now that it's not raining. Let's see if I can show you guys. Like, they've got a nice little grill area. They got like 3 different grills. Beautiful spot. But this is kind of one of the things that sold me on this place. Like, this place is great. And so I'm using the dividend earnings to pay to live here. I got a weight room over here. Like, these areas like haven't even been developed yet. But yeah, like this is, I don't know if you guys can kind of see that. I don't know, it's kind of the reflections going on there, but that's kind of the gym. But I'm trying to get set up for hosting some events here. They got a nice little like area for kids and everything too. I wanted to show you this, guys. They have like this kids pool and like a kids playground here. I'm liking this spot though. So I'm gonna be doing some live streams from here. I want to do some live streams from the park. That's one of the big selling points that I liked about this spot right here. There's so many cool spots in like walking distance around here to do like little live streams. So that's the plan. I just need to get my Wi-Fi figured out because I don't got any Wi-Fi on my laptop. But yeah, that's what I got going on today. Like, I mean, I've done, you know, 627 bucks today in dividend earnings. I haven't had anything over 300 bucks. Like, my other biggest day was May 5th, where I had 294 in dividend earnings. But I'm doing pretty well on CG now. I hope that trend continues. As long as there's volume in the contract and as this gets more known in the space, you know, I'm anticipating that's going to do pretty well. CG, 50% in his pocket, 50% out of his mind. Yeah, TG will explode when he goes live. I think once he starts promoting it on his main channel, like that's kind of one of the things is like, I want to get in before that happens. That's why I'm hoping that the contract like comes down a little bit before he does that, because he's got a huge following on his other YouTube channel. And, you know, I mean, him posting a couple of videos is going to make the contract, you know, explode. And right now there's only 3 contracts that have over 100 ETH in the balance. I guess there's 4 with ETH Phoenix. But you've got Proof of Weak Hands, you've got POTJ, You've got this new one, CG Now, and ETH Phoenix. So those are the ones that are holding over 100 ETH in the balance. And I think that one of the things I've been seeing with some of the clones is like they're susceptible. Once you have like a clone that drops below like 100 in an ETH balance, you know, especially if you got in like when it was over 100, that can be like one that didn't pay out too well. Yeah, I think that the proof of weak hands contract is bottoming out. Like this is really the time that you want to get in. I think with the FOMO 3D project, like I still need to like figure out or find out a little bit more info on that. I think that the intention of that is to drive volume into the contract, as with any of these other ones. Like what Locked In is doing is they're kind of doing it from like a gambling standpoint or like a lottery standpoint. So that I'm interested to see how that implements into the contract. ETH Phoenix, I don't know. I'm not really sure how much that they've got going on. I know that like the website's like, I like the look of the website. I like kind of the look of what they're doing. Like the balance is holding right now. They were before proof of weak hands. So they were a precursor. Like I think like that was kind of the misconception that I had initially, was like I was thinking that proof of weak hands was the first smart contract, and that's why it's really kind of maintained the value, because everything's kind of cloning off of that. But ETH Phoenix was kind of came into existence like right before that, and so. What if the trade contract is faulty? I would think that if there was a fault in it, it would have been found by now. I mean, the way I understand it, it was pretty much cloned, just like the percentages were changed. I haven't done like a diff checker on that or anything. Like I haven't really looked as much into it. Like honestly, I'm kind of surprised that it's as high as it is, but I think the whole reason behind why you're seeing that contract as high as it is with the daily active users has everything to do with Trey promoting it and people getting behind it. And that kind of shows the power of the community that he built, you know, has been building for like the last 2 years. He has a lot of loyal followers. He has a lot of people that follow what he's doing. He was the #1 guy in BitConnect. In terms of like referrals and people, so I mean, like that's going to be an element you can't underestimate. Like, and so like you can see like these other projects like ETH Phoenix and Locked In, like they look a little bit more professional. They look like they've got like a team, like a company. It's kind of, you know, set up that way. You know. They're not doing as well as PoTJ, which is basically a clone. So people are behind it because of Trey. I think you're kind of seeing the same thing with CG, like the CG Now project. Like, I mean, look at how like he went from proof of weak hands and really was kind of promoting that. He really got a lot of people kind of interested and kind of drove a lot of that kind of early adoption in that project. Moved to POW, really that contract really exploded. I mean, it went from 30 ETH in that contract all the way up to 600. And he left, and now like it dropped all the way down to 60, and it's coming up a little bit. He went to POCG. Like that was doing pretty well for a while, and now he's in this project. So I think some people are a little bit negative by you know, him kind of, you know, switching from platform to platform, and that's kind of caused a little bit of confusion. I mean, I think some people, if you're not like keeping up on kind of the trends that are happening in the space, like that can be a little bit frustrating, especially when those contracts take a dive and you've got to get out or something to get into another contract that's doing a little bit better. But I think he's going to stay in this one. Like, this is the one that I think that he's gonna get behind. So I mean, it's doing well. It's doing well right now. People don't trust CG. You know, I mean, he's an early adopter, so he's going to be a guy that's going to be getting into the latest and greatest thing. So like you know, I don't know. Like I think you have to have an open mind when you're looking at some of these things. When I did a video on P3D, it went from 200 ETH to 20,000 ETH in one week. I remember you getting into that and promoting that a little bit. Yeah, I don't see him flipping on his own coin that he has control of, that he's got developers that are helping him, that are working on this thing. Like it's his project now. So that's why like I'm behind it, why I'm supporting it, because I don't see him wavering from this one. Like he might get into some other ones, but stop being silly and get on the boat, Clover. I'm waiting for that to come down a little bit. I wish I could get on I can't get on the internet right now. I'm FOMOing, that's for sure. I wish I had gotten in a lot earlier. Like, I'm just, you know, I want to give it a little bit of time. Like, I want to get in. Like, I don't know if now's the right time. Like, but I definitely want to get in before you promote it on your main channel. Yeah, I can't like, I don't have internet here. I got to figure that out. I don't know how, like, there's two really strong, I'm going to figure some stuff out. Like, I don't have a good, I'm just using the internet on my phone. Maybe I got to use my phone somehow to get internet so I can get on my laptop. I know they got Wi-Fi down here. So, I don't know, maybe I just got to talk to the right guy. I tell you one thing that is like Trevon having that high a percentage in his own contract, like, because if you're looking at the token holders, like, I mean, what has he got? Like, he's got like 8 or 9% of, you know, of that contract. Like, it's great that he is that he's really getting behind supporting his, you know, that project. You don't have that with CG now, from what I understand. Like, he has a much lower percentage, but I don't know how, I gotta look in, like, I don't know how to I gotta figure out how to bring up the token holder list with CG now, and it's not gonna update necessarily on etherscan. Spider Zero, you really the developer behind the POTJ project. I'll get in your guys' Discord and see what's, talk with you guys a little bit more. Turn on a hotspot. Yeah, I could probably do that. I could do a hotspot, but I don't know how that's gonna work if I'm live streaming from my phone and I do a hotspot from the same phone. Maybe it'll work.